So, friend, who wants to come up and give the message today? We're in the middle of a series based on the book Spiritual Economics. We have 2 chapters we're covering today, and we exist in a community that believes in metaphysics, that everything that's happening around us and within us is all relevant, that the world is full of divine appointments. And so we take everything that we see, we take everything before us, and we pull it into the fold, and we use it to work the principles and work the practice. So there is nothing that's going on in your mind, in your heart, in our world, in our beings that is not relevant to right here and right now. It's all welcome, it's all accepted, it's all relevant, it's all part of the practice. So I invite us to take a deep breath in and a mighty exhale. So these chapters today in Spiritual Economics are about practicing the deep principles, and they go beyond what they're about. What they're technically about this week is Chapter 6, Work and the Success Syndrome, and Chapter 7, How to Reverse Financial Adversity. Those are 2 concepts, like work, and not just work as in my job, but work as in how I express myself, how I put what I am, who I am, into motion in the world, right? How I utilize the energy that is me and how I circulate it, how I go into moments of giving and receiving in all areas of my life, in relationship and service. And financial adversity is simply about security, is it not? It's about breathing into spiritual security. The mind wants to control things. The mind wants to have answers. The mind wants to know. Is this resonating with anything that your mind is thinking these days? Right? The mind doesn't like the discomfort when it is uncomfortable, when the future is unknown, when we can't work it out, reason it out, think it out, when we have to step into the principles and step into the practice and pull it in us, to us, through us, and as us, when we have to become it. Unity principles and unity teachings are all about becoming the flow of life and teaching each one of us the practice and the principles so that we can apply them, so that we can connect with our divine nature and connect with the world around us. So I want to share with you a little bit about Eric Butterworth, and I really think that this teaching that he gives us around work and around our life force energy and the circulation of it, and around our resources and our sustenance and our safety, is very relevant to the world today, because we're asking ourselves big questions in the world today. We're asking ourselves, what are we here for? And how can we exist? How can we do this? How can we create a world that works for all? How can we be what we are here to be and create what we are here to create? Or do we have to keep living through and from the limitations of the world around us? Eric Butterworth says that our bondage in life is caused by our acceptance of erroneous beliefs. He says the most important part of learning is to dive into looking at these erroneous beliefs, as the Greek philosopher Zeno said, and to unlearn our errors. To unlearn our errors. So he asks us what we create from what we give. The German educator Friedrich Froebel said, the delusive idea that men merely toil and work for the sake of preserving their bodies and procuring for themselves bread, houses, and clothes is degrading and not to be encouraged. The true origin of man's activity and creativeness lies in his increasing impulse to embody outside of himself the divine and spiritual element within him. Do we teach this? Do we lead this in the world in these days, in these times? Do we lead with the knowing that life is about this, that it is about embodying the divine outside of ourselves and being the spiritual element in the world around us? He says it's a tremendous realization. And what if our young people came through life knowing this, that we are here to be an inlet and an outlet, to be circulating, not to think that life is happening to us and that it's drudgery and that there are limits to what we can co-create together. We are faced with this in the collective right now. He says, let your work, whatever it may be, and you replace the word work with whatever work is to you. It may just be your relationships. It may be your sacred service. It may be an actual job. It may be what's going on in the world. Whatever it may be, let your work involve being an outworking of the creative flow, engaged in through the sheer joy of fulfilling your divine nature. You will prosper, and you should do so. He goes on to say, the work in the job is the means by which you build a consciousness of giving, which in turn gives rise to an outworking or receiving flow. I remember a long time asking myself when I was going into the work world, what would I do? I always asked myself this question, what would I do if money were not an issue? And that's how I went to my first job, and that's how I went to my second job, and that's how I went to my next job. What would we do with our energy and our time if we weren't receiving anything from it, if it were just about giving? Eric Butterworth names 3 things that are important to the circulation of life flow and to the dedication of our energy. He says that we should be growing, and whatever we do, how we circulate, we should be growing. And then serving, that we're here to be serving and to be experiencing the creative flow of life. To be experiencing the creative flow of life. To let yourself, who you are, matter. How many times in this day and age and in this culture, if you think about young people graduating and you think about the world and jobs people have, how often do people set all of those things aside to just make money? Set all of those things aside to just make it, to just figure out how to fit in the world. To pay off a loan, to get the security and the stability of house and food on the table. We are facing a collective challenge these days. And it's the challenge of knowing who's and who we are and creating systems that support who we are. And in order to do that, we have to look at our erroneous beliefs. Are we allowed to be on the planet and give of our souls? Are we allowed to be on the planet and give of who we are and to be divinely compensated in the law of circulation for the flow of life that comes to us and through us and as us? Or are we going to live by the world of limitations and the belief in lack? And the belief that someone somewhere else is controlling our experience and limiting us? Or are we going to recognize that we are the force field and the faculty? You know, Eric Butterworth in the 2nd chapter, when he talks about finance, he talks about how the trends go up and down. Even the stock market can go up and down based on fear, right? Based on people's sense of security and people's sense of fear, that we're co-creating constantly. So can we step forward in making some decisions for ourselves, setting some principles in ourselves that every person on the planet, that every person in our nation, that every person in our community deserves to be an inlet and an outlet of the creative flow, that deserves to be divinely prospered, that deserves to have spiritual security? He gives us some tools and some keys. He says that on the kind of like the dark side, the tendency to deal with our work life, and I would put that into our collective way of being on the planet, our collective way of sustaining ourselves on the planet, is almost as if it were a life sentence from which we may ultimately retire as time off for good behavior. There's a tendency to deal with our work, to deal with the drudgery of life, whatever it is, almost as if it were a life sentence from which we may ultimately retire as time off for good behavior. That doesn't sound like creative flow, does it? That doesn't sound like service. That doesn't sound like growing. That doesn't sound like prospering relationships. He says, let your work, whatever it may be, involve, be it an outworking of this creative flow, so that we may be what we are here to be. Our work, our expressions, should be an experience, he says, of growth. If you're not growing in the process, then something is wrong. He says life is a growth process, and we grow through giving. He says when you do your work imaginatively, creatively, the work becomes more meaningful and interesting, and we become more effective in it. We can change what we do by changing our attitudes about it. And this is not limited to work. This is what's going on around us. This is what's going on in the collective, because the microcosm is the macrocosm. If this is going on within us, it's going on among us. So how can we dedicate ourselves to the upliftment of all people, of systems and structures that work? By looking at how we can circulate ourselves as soul beings. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, no matter what your work, let it be your own. No matter what your occupation, and fill in the time that you share, how you circulate your good, let what you are doing be organic. Let it be in your bones. In this way, you will open the door by which the affluence of heaven and earth shall stream into you. He encourages us to do it for the health of our own soul, for the health of our own soul. And we need to do it for the health of the soul of our nation, do we not? For the soul of our nation, we need to be honoring the divine flow of life, that we are an inlet and an outlet of all that is God, that individuals are more than human, that individuals are expressions of spirit, expressions of source, that we each have the creative faculty and the creative force flowing through us. And that we can meet each other with that, and that there is more than enough. But we're faced with a time and with principles, and they were around in Eric Butterworth's time. All of this fear, all of these fear thoughts of limitation, of lack, of there's not enough, of I can't fit here. They were all around. They've been around since the beginning of time. They're around in the world among us, and they're around for many of us. The feelings of discomfort, the feelings of insecurity, the feelings of I don't know the next steps. I don't know how this is going to play out. Anyone have that feeling? Yes. One of the questions for our prosperity groups this week is, what false beliefs stand between you and living prosperously? What false beliefs stand between you and living prosperously? Breathe that in for a moment. Breathe it in for us as a collective. What false beliefs stand between us and living prosperously? Living abundantly. Maybe a sense of separation. Maybe a sense of us and them. Maybe a sense that this is my source or that is my source, but failing to recognize that God is my source. Maybe that there's not enough, or that there's just not enough for me. Maybe that when I receive, someone else loses. Maybe someone deserves more than me, more than us. Maybe one nation deserves more than another nation. Maybe one people deserves more than another people. What about the thought, I have nothing to give? I have nothing to circulate. Some people feel like that in their isolation, in their relationships, in their homes, alone. I am not enough. Someone, something out there is blocking my good. I'm not worthy. Maybe it's my disbelief in myself, my disbelief in us. Can we believe in the greater us? The divine that is sourcing our being into motion right here and right now. The animating faculty that is moving through life. There is an animating faculty moving through life that has no opposite. It is God, the good omnipotence. It is the very vibration, the very field of life itself. It presses into us, through us, and as us. And we, friends, are here not to stifle it, not to not believe in it, but to actually pull it in and have it guide us so that we can recreate as it is. But when we get stuck in fear and limitation or lack or separation or other, when we get caught in the world of the mind and the insecurities, we forget that there is one power and one source that is fueling each one of us in each moment, and that we are here to co-create in its likeness, not to co-create in and after the likeness of our own human, separate, sense-conditioned fears and limitations, but to create in the wondrous patterns that are available to each one of us. Eric Butterworth said this, and I think it's just so perfect for these times. He says, why not pick the most difficult thing facing you right now? Are you ready? Hey, we're here together. Did you know that? Yes. We're here together. We are here together. We have an owie. We have some owies, don't we? And we're here together. He says, why not pick out the most difficult thing facing you right now and say, I know that this is the best thing that could happen to me, to us. For I know that in the happening, there is revealed a new lesson to learn and some new growth experience. I know that within me, within us, is an unborn possibility of limitless potentialities. And this is our opportunity to begin to give birth to new ideas, new strength, and new vision. New ideas, new strength, and new vision. I accept the reality of the difficulty, but not its permanence. Let's say that together. I accept the reality of the difficulty, but not its permanence. I accept the reality of the difficulty, but not its permanence. I am not at the end of anything. Let's repeat that together. I am not at the end of anything. The divine is so divine in each moment, speaking through each moment with power. I know that in the movement of it has come to pass, something wonderful is on its way to me, far surpassing anything I have ever known before. So I think we can all agree that there are systems within us, systems among us that have to do with our peace of mind, with our security, with being an inlet and an outlet of all that is God, with being in the flow of life, with having a life and co-creating a life where we can sustain ourselves, where we can prosper by our growth, through our creativity, and through service. Should not everything be service? I want to bring back Mr. Rogers. Like Mr. Rogers meets Gandhi, meets Martin Luther King, meets the highest in every single mind. Isn't everything that we're here to be meant to be service? Service to the soul. Service to recreating and demonstrating the patterns of the divine within us and among us. Eric Butterworth says, the whole universe is on your side, guiding your hands, directing your footsteps in the way you go. He goes on to say, infinite mind will always regulate your affairs. Infinite mind will always regulate your affairs, so that you may have what is yours to have, so that you can sing your song. Sing your song. We are here as individuals and as a collective to be singing our songs. Where it doesn't feel like we're singing a song, We have come to bring harmony. We have come to write the lyrics. We have come as the instrument. And so it is. Namaste.